This episode of this Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey is brought to you by energy healer Jean Border's personal, powerful transformation program. Know you're leaving money on the table, but can't figure out how to bring it in? Need to double your productivity and profitability? Need an extra push to get things moving in the right direction? Visit www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com/transformation now and apply for a business consultation with Jean. Welcome to the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey, where we take out your emotional baggage and heal your emotional body so you get to enjoy the success you desire and deserve. Prepare to feel a sense of relief and empowerment as we get rid of the baggage you've been carrying that's held up your business success up until now. Be sure to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, get comfortable, and prepare to take off.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast. I have a really cool guest here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Christoph Nauer, who is, I'm going to say, an expert in time, how time affects your personal life and your business life and your relationships. Hi, Christoph. How are you?
Hello, Jean. I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, you mentioned the key word time. Most people are familiar with Warren Buffett, and he says, I can buy anything in the world I want, except, you can imagine, time. And you and I, doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, whatever, we all get 24 hours a day. And it's up to us to decide on how we're going to spend this precious commodity called time. And we never taught any of those practices and skill sets and structures and systems that my mentor Brian Tracy taught me. And so quite often, one of the reasons why people get into business for themselves is they want to be their own boss. I don't want to have anybody tell me what to do and when to show up, etc. This is fantastic. Yes, absolutely. There's such a beauty in that. But now here's the but. The challenge then is, all of a sudden now, when do I work? When do I not work? What will I do when? And, if we go, especially for people who have gone from a W-2 job to becoming entrepreneurs or business owners, it's a huge step. All of a sudden, it's totally up to them when they work and what to do. And they can be lost when it comes to that. And so that's really what I do, is I help my clients focus and prioritize, create systems so they can get much more done than without a plan. And the saying goes, if you don't have time to plan, then you plan to fail. And, I don't have time. Too busy. But 1 minute of planning can save up to 10 minutes in execution. There's just this huge complex thing. So this is the stuff I do with my clients. And once they start implementing this system, it's called the From No Time to Free Time system. Once you start implementing that system, it's a completely liberating experience, because at the end of the day, you feel you have gotten the stuff done that need to get done. And you give yourself permission now to turn off, to be with your spouse, to be with your kids. And if you don't have kids, or the kids are grown, to go on the golf course, or go to trip to the beach. That's my thing. I'm a beach guy. I love to recharge on the ocean. And whatever it is, without feeling guilty and say, oh, I should have, because that's one of the things entrepreneurs and business owners do. They should have on themselves. But once you implement that system, that's a thing of the past. And it's completely liberating. And so you can tell I'm passionate about what I do, and I see the transformation in clients when they start implementing this stuff and they realize, oh, actually I can leave the office, whether it's a home office or away office, at a certain time and not check email or phone messages till the next day. Have office hours. What a concept, But I have to decide on those. Nobody else does.
Yeah, every morning I do various planners and journals, and one of the questions or fill in the blanks that I hit every morning is what I enjoy most about my business. And so many mornings I write the words I decide. Because just what you said, I get to decide what my hours are. My clients don't get to dictate their time issues onto me, right? I decide when my calendar is open. I decide what days of the week I will devote to family, or what hours of the day I will devote to the dog, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Because so many people miss that piece of the puzzle where you set the boundaries for your business. And if you set no boundaries, oh my gosh, it's just frustration.
Yeah. Oh, you're speaking my language, Gene. Absolutely. This is so totally true. And the thing is, you said you decide when to work, and you don't allow your clients to dictate you. Now, this is a key phrase that and I would like all the listeners to really pay close attention to that phrase. This is critically important. A lot of my clients, that's exactly what they do. They work on something, and the client calls. Oh, they recognize the phone number. Oh, I have to take this call. And I say, why? Because you're working, this is an important client. Yes. But let's say you call your doctor. Does your doctor answer your call when you call him or her? And they go like, oh, no. I say, okay. Why is your doctor more important than you? But this is a key phrase that you just mentioned, Gene. I think this is something that if listeners can walk away with that's going to make it is a game changer.
There are so many ways where we don't realize that we get to choose what boundaries we want in place, whether that's strictly a time boundary or even a client boundary, right? I will work with these types of clients and not these types of clients because these energize me and these suck the life out of me, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think another key word that you just mentioned a couple of times is boundaries, and it's like I have grown kids. With kids, and in a previous life I was a teacher, you have to set boundaries. If you don't, they walk all over you. And it's kind of silly to compare that with clients, but it's the same thing. You have to set boundaries. And then, of course, once you set them, you kind of need to, and that enforce is maybe the wrong term, but I'm using it anyway, enforce those boundaries. Because otherwise, at least for kids, they learn, hey, dad may say this, but he doesn't really mean it. So it goes the same way, because if we allow our clients to interfere with our lives, if we allow them to interrupt and destroy the carefully created schedule that we have made, and why bother having a schedule? But they also learn that, hey, Genie's always available. Christoph is always available. I call him, he answers the phone. He can't be too busy. I mean, what does he do all day?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm a healer. So my business is all, my business happens to be all remote. I don't work with clients face to face. My clients are anywhere in the world, right?
Yep.
But one of the things that I tell new clients is, if you need me, send me an email or send me a text, but I don't answer the phone because I'm with a client, and you wouldn't want me to answer the phone if you paid me to spend time with you. So I honor that with all of my clients. So you'll have to get in touch with me some other way, and I'll get back with you when I get some free time, right? Now I build that time into my day so that I can call them back or email them back or text them back, whatever, right?
Exactly. There's times when you return emails, there are times if you get voicemail messages, when you return voicemail messages, etc. Absolutely, yes.
And there are always emergencies, and emergency to a client is not necessarily an emergency to to the coach or the healer or whoever, right? So there are different levels of emergency, but sometimes they exist, and sometimes I do have to shift something to accommodate what actually is, in both of our views, an emergency. But again, that's
Absolutely.
my choice.
Correct.
I decide which client is the highest priority at that moment.
Yes. And what is an emergency?
Exactly.
You get to decide that. In the client's eyes, it's always an emergency. But it's up to me to decide, is this truly an emergency? And then you decide how quickly you call them back when you have an opening or whatever. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you on that.
So you work with 6 different parts of someone's world, right? That's the balance 6.
Yes. So I believe that when we balance those 6, then that's when we're the best version of ourselves. And of course, people who don't even imagine, one component is time, of course. The overarching guiding component is time. But then there's money, there's health, there's relationship, there's self-improvement, and then there's spirituality or higher power or whatever that mystery is outside of what we can feel, touch, see. And when we balance those 6, I believe that that's when we're the best version of ourselves. When we only focus on money and really neglect our health or our relationship with others, well, then we're out of balance. And quite often, especially in our society, we spend billions of dollars restoring our health. Now, how about we take care of our health to begin with so that we don't then have to restore it after? I mean, it's an important concept. Now, the only place we get all this correctly is on the airplane, right? Before you take off, to tell you about all the emergency procedures, and then put your mask on yourself first before you help somebody else. And why we cannot translate that into everyday life is a mystery too. But that's what I'm all about. What is it, like you said, you decide when you work, when you don't work. You set boundaries. And you decide when you do something life-giving for yourself. Sometimes my clients don't even know what that is. So we start, okay, make a list, write down 3 or 5 things that recharge your batteries. If you had those in your life, you would feel like $1 million. And some clients, it is talking with a friend, taking a dog for a walk, journaling, swimming, yoga. Sky's the limit. And then what happens is when I have time, I'll do that. Versus on Monday at 6 or 10 or 9, whatever, is my time to do that. Also, I encourage my client to create a morning routine. And that means that the morning routine is not hitting the snooze button until you can't hit it anymore. It is do something for yourself first to start the day, so that you can then be the best version of yourself throughout the day. So to give an example, for me, it's a half hour to 45 minutes of meditation, and then a half hour of my stationary bike. That is shower time. I get my tea, and then I start my day. And before that, during that time, nobody has any right to me. Nobody. Not available. I'm available to my puppy because he's going to sit next to me when I'm on my bike and that kind of thing.
And if you don't let him outside, you're going to be sorry later. So
exactly. So that's different, So he has access to me pretty much all the time, most of the time. But that is something that is so important. Then I take care of something for myself first thing in the morning. This is for me. It sets me up. And it's also a win-win situation. When I do this, I'm a better person. I'm more attentive. I work better. And so the people I work with get that version of me versus when I don't do it, oh my gosh, I said no to myself again. I'm all nervous, stressed out. Well, I exude a certain energy at that time. You as an energy healer know this much better than I do. But people pick up on that. So whether you're a business owner, a spouse, a parent, an employee, if you are the best version of yourself, and you put yourself first, everybody around you benefits from it. So it's not selfish to put yourself first at all, even though that's somehow the message our society, teaches.
Well, I agree with that. You get two messages. Number one, you see all the people who are totally focused on themselves and taking a million selfies all the time and just unreal looking on the TV, and then you get don't be selfish, help other people, don't help yourself. So you get this mixed message and you're inside your head, you're going back and forth and back and forth. Well, how do I make sense of both of those messages that can't both be right at the same time, or can they, or what am I not getting, or that whole imbalance inside the head with making sense of messages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and again, that goes back to what you said in the beginning. As a business owner, you get to choose. It's your choice. It's my choice to either do something or not do something. I don't have a boss who tells me do this or do that, which is nice. But again, it's a challenge too. I have to give myself permission. And this is a lot of stuff that I talk to my clients about. You have to allow yourself to do that. You don't need permission from anybody else but you. And sometimes I can be my own worst enemy. I can't really do that. Oh, I shouldn't do that. I should do that. I should do this. Oh, I haven't done this. Taking a lunch break, for instance. I'm working with a client on that. It's a myth that you actually get more done if you sit at your computer and, shove food in your mouth. Not true. If you take a 30-minute or 45-minute actual break, you remove yourself from your workstation. You're more productive in the afternoon.
The brain needs downtime. That's just the way the brain works. You can argue that all you want, but if you're sitting there trying to focus on something for 8 hours straight with no breaks, you're not productive. You could get so much more done if you just took a 10-minute break every hour, right? And then you come back, you've had a chance to reset your brain. It's had a respite from being that focused on this, and it got to work other parts of the brain, and then it can come back fresh again. Yeah. And there's science behind that as well. Yeah. But sometimes I think it might be in the business person's best interest to treat themselves like they would treat an employee occasionally. Could you hire an employee and still be within the legal law to not give them a break for 8 hours? No.
No, you wouldn't. Exactly. You have to get them a break. Now, the thing you can't really do, unless you want to become a police officer. Policemen, what is it that they do during the break? And I have a client, she was an employee and then purchased the business when the owner retired, and so that's quite a transition. So you have to become aware that now you're the boss, you're not an employee anymore, and so those are struggles that she's working on. Is exactly that lunch break, and it's unfortunate that they don't actually have a lunch room per se on the campus, on the office setting. But I said, you could just, go for a walk or go next door, grab a cup of coffee there. Yes, you have a coffee machine in the office, or just close your computer, turn your office chair away, remove it from the desk. There's great apps for meditation. One is called Insight Timer, and I use that all the time. It's fantastic. Just do a little meditation for 20 minutes or whatever. Simple things like that. But as you said, you have to set the boundaries and give yourself permission to do that.
And you mentioned something really important. When you do switch roles, you have to be aware that you are now in a new role that will require different time management skills and will require you to think differently, to go from being an employee of a specific company to being now the owner of the company, where now you make all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You decide the vision that the company is going to head towards. You decide the mission. You decide the clients. You decide the marketing. You decide what team you want to build. That's a whole different role than coming to work and doing what you're told. Even if you're the best at what you're told to do, you still have someone else who takes responsibility for your role.
Yes.
And then when you become the owner, it's all on you. So setting the boundaries of what you're willing to accept and not willing to accept from the employees and from yourself is huge. You go from being a peer, where all the employees like you and you get along because you don't really have to say, you're not doing your job. Either do your job or I'll find somebody who will, right? And now you're more isolated than you were because you're still trying to maintain the friendships, and that's not the role you're in anymore.
Yes. You're dead on. Yes. This is a challenge, but people are not prepared for it. They realize, oh, this is a great opportunity. I already know the business. I've been part of it. But it takes a certain personality too. And then, okay, now what's best for what is it that I should be working on as the owner now versus continuing to do the work I was doing as an employee? For that whole shift. So, yeah.
Yeah. Changing in roles can be traumatic for the people you left behind, but also for you. Yes,
Yeah.
The money sounds really good sometimes, but there are so many other contributing factors to your mental and emotional and physical health when you switch roles like that.
Yes, absolutely. That's how when I did the rebranding, went through rebranding, I don't know how many years ago, this is how the name came out, Balance 6. Because when we balance those, if I spend time improving my skill set on a regular basis, I'm becoming a better version of myself. And so everybody around me benefits, If I take my health seriously, then I don't have to pay billions of dollars to restore it back to me. My relationship, this country relationships break down constantly. Why? Well, we don't spend time with each other. We see each other in passing. And kids grow when they see how parents parent. Well, that's when they become parents, do the same thing. We learn from our parents what they do. So if the parents are never around, or if they're home, they're always working. Well, kids pick up on that. I had a client, she was starting her real estate business. She had 4 kids and was a single mom. So she was always on this thing here, And she may have been physically present at home, but that's about it. So I introduced the concept of office hours to her. And she's like, oh, you don't understand my industry. And I said, you're right, I don't. I'm not a realtor. I'm your coach. But I can tell you those 4 beautiful kids over there, they will resent you later if you're never present to them. Real present. And so it took a while, but eventually she did implement that to the point where she had her office hours listed in her email signature and on her outgoing voicemail message on the phone. She's now running a multi-million-dollar business that has a team of about 5. The kids are grown now. But just to give an example, that's where she was. And she fought me for quite a while with the sort of concept of the office hours until she, eventually relented and then realized, oh, it works.
We want to think that nothing will run unless we're there to do it ourselves. I must be available all the time or I'm going to lose a client in her case. I'm going to lose a sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily true, even though we wish that we were so necessary to everybody on the planet. But it's a hard lesson to learn sometimes. It really is.
It is. Yes, it is.
So you talk about the 6 different areas. Give me some tips on a couple of those areas on how to get back some time, to free up some time where we think there's no way to do it in that specific area?
Well, there's a concept that Brian Tracy teaches. I think I call it one of the golden nuggets that, I'd like to share with the audience. It's called the 90-15-90. And what it means is basically for 90 minutes, you work on a project that you have to get done. And it's a really important project. If it doesn't get done, your business is really going to suffer. And during that time, you do absolutely nothing else. Your phone is off, your email is off, everything is off. Your desk is clear. You focus on that task for 90 minutes, and you take a 15-minute break, and then you do it again. And if 90 is too long, you can do 60, 10, 60, doesn't matter. It's not about the actual time. It's about the uninterrupted time. And you can apply that concept to anything. It could be 60 minutes of you doing yoga. It could be 60 minutes of you going swimming or running or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Where you block that time on your calendar for that particular task. And here is this concept that it goes back to you in charge, and when you prioritize, that's another, thing that I do with my clients. Brian Tracy, there's so many different ways to prioritize. A, B, C, D, E is the method that he uses. And the A task, those are the tasks that have to get done. Otherwise, there's serious negative consequences. And I include self-care in that category. I include relationship care, care of your health, self-improvement. I include that in that category. And that's one of the things that sets me apart from probably the masses. For most coaches, the A tasks are the ones that grow your business. But ultimately, you can grow your business if you take care of those other areas. Because then when you're the best version of yourself, whenever you show up 150%. You show up well prepared, healthy, at your best. So have that in your calendar. So let's say if I read one self-development book on a particular topic where I can become better when I read that, how do I do that? Well, 10, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. So if I am in a committed relationship, what time do I spend with my significant other? That is not tied to other stuff, where it's just the two of us. When I talk to young couples about date night once a week, they kind of look at me, what? I said, well, listen, here you have these little kids coming along, all right? And I'm talking with young families with kids, okay? And they come, first of all, don't come with instructions. You got to figure that out. You need a job, you need a business degree or license for anything except parenting. But so then, what time do you spend with them? What do you set aside? And then you as a couple, you need to keep that relationship alive for the benefit not only for the two of you, but of your kids. How do you nurture your relationship? What time do you set aside to do that? So all of that plays a role in this. And it's being proactive. Okay, every Friday night we have the babysitter show up, or the grandma or the grandpa watch the kids while we go out. Kids get older. We have a family meal, at least one meal a day, where we sit down as a family. And electronic devices are off. Or whatever, things like that. And it's all part of the overall plan. It's not an afterthought. Oh, when I have nothing to do, better to do it, then I'll do that. It's the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. When I was thinking back to a few years ago when People weren't, in most states, weren't allowed to leave their house, and kids weren't allowed to go to school, and families were stuck inside just with each other. And some of the families that I worked with online, because my business is all remote, so it didn't affect me like it did a lot of businesses.
Right.
One of the things that I found with the kids is not having interaction outside the house led to not having interaction inside the house, because those systems hadn't been put in place before this big deal happened. And so nobody realized that they should put them in place for mental health reasons, if nothing else, an emotional connection. And the kids would stay up in their rooms, and some of them would tell me, I don't even know how to talk to my parents anymore. It's not just my friends. I don't even have anything to say to my parents. And that's sad.
Yes.
But if you don't recognize that these things are so important, you let them fall by the wayside. And then you have to recoup later when the kid is having huge emotional issues during their developmental years, when they're learning how to interact with people, learning how to interact with their peers and with their adults. So the relationship piece is huge, making that a priority, in my view.
No, I couldn't agree more with you. These little devices have become babysitters.
Yes.
And so they don't, like you put it perfectly, they don't know how to talk to each other. So even if family sits down for a meal, everybody's on the phone. Instead of having a conversation, share something. What I usually encourage them to do is talk about, since our society is so focused on negative stuff, let's switch it around. Say, everybody around the table, share something positive that happened to you today. Something that was great, something you're proud of or whatever. Simple things like that. And, so yes, the electronic age is great because it allows us to do what we're doing right now. It allows us to have a business, a remote business, an online business. But again, in moderation, we have to, the kids, should they not use those electronic devices? No, they should, but it should be limited. We see we have adopted grandkids, and they're constantly on those devices. And our challenge is to encourage the parents to kind of set some limits there, because they can really get addicted to that. I have a friend who has a son. He is actually addicted to his electronic device.
Well, there's something called gamification that they build into computer devices, into apps, so that it puts out a little burst of dopamine, right? So it is creating physical addictions through the way it's, oh, I did that. I hit that level. That's such a good feeling. I want to repeat that feeling. And it's very easy. All these studies out there, they set it up to be very easy to hit that at the beginning of the game. And then the more you go through the levels, you have to work at it more. So you have to spend more time on that app. So it's a really cool thing for the people who develop the apps and sell stuff off the apps. It's not a cool thing for the kids who are looking for instant gratification and the physical responses it's creating in their brain and the way it is now impacting growth.
Yes. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you. Yeah. And so
now, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I think that whole relationship component is such an important and integral part. The kids, they're with us for a very short period of time. I don't know if you have kids or not, but they grow up like that. Mine are in their 30s now. That's how fast it goes. So the time we get with them is very short and very limited. And it is a responsibility of each parent to spend quality time with their kids. Once you decide to have kids, you're taking on a responsibility that is huge. You're putting life into this world. You need to give them the tools and skill set to become good people, to become caring people, to become people who are more than just, producers. money makers, but who also care in the process. So yeah, this is important part. And when we set aside time to nurture those relationships, whether they're in the family or even in the business world, those relationships need to be nurtured. An employee who feels understood and appreciated will do a much better job than somebody's just constantly dictated on. There's a leadership style. It's called the multiplier. When the leader actually includes his or her team in the decision-making process, and he says, "Hey guys, XYZ company this year, we really want to hit this, and this. We want to do that. How do you think we could do that?" Now, if the team realizes the boss is actually asking for their input, they feel like, wow, I actually matter. And they're saying that leadership style actually gets the productivity up to 150%. While the other one, the diminisher style, where it's just a big dictatorship, drops to 75% or lower.
And the health of the organization is hugely dependent upon leadership or lack of. Leadership style can make or break a team. It can make or break morale so quickly. I'm lucky enough to have been in leadership positions with great teams, fantastic teams. Some of them I'm no longer in that was my old career, right? 36 years with the U.S. federal government in leadership positions. But I was lucky enough to recently go out to dinner with previous team members from two of the regions that I was in charge of. And they all still respected my leadership style. That is such a cool, I thought that was, oh my gosh, to me, that was a legacy that I left behind, right?
Absolutely.
They all learned things under me. They still reached out and wanted to have dinner with me when they were in town. It's like, that doesn't happen every day, right?
But it happened because of you, your style, the way you were leading, you truly cared. You had a leadership style that was effective, but it was also, a way that they felt comfortable with you. They felt, they saw your skill set and realized, yeah, she's not a dictator. She guides us in the right direction. That's a perfect example. They wouldn't go out and have dinner with you if you didn't, have an impact.
And what I found interesting was they still looked to me to get my opinion on things that were happening within the organization, or wanting me to perhaps give insights into some of the leadership issues that were occurring. I'm trying to be very politically correct here, right? But you have good leaders and you have bad leaders and you have dictators, to use your word. You have micromanagers. And then you have on the other side, you have leaders that build up their staff, who bring out the best, who train them in areas where they might need to be shored up a little bit, right? Either in their skill set or their knowledge base or their efficiency, but leading them in such a way that the employee wants it. They want to learn. They want to help the organization. They want that feeling of satisfaction of being part of a team that's high performing.
Yeah.
And
where they're recognized and appreciated for their efforts.
Yes.
The word, we taught our kids from the time they were tiny little, the two words, please and thank you. And those words go a long way. And so if you say thank you to your team, to your employees, and say, great job. I mean, gosh, awesome how you did this. I mean, and you did it in such a short time. I was expecting this to last so much longer. Wow, thanks so much. Wow. Just that, versus nothing, just taking it, saying, thanks. or you're not even a thank you sometimes,
The expectation.
Yes, it goes a huge way, and that is all part of it. I think that goes into the whole relationship component of my process.
And the other part to what you just said is the more you train people up and the more they feel satisfaction in their job, the more willing they are to put out more effort, to up their skill set. And it takes less time because they're motivated. It's not you coming back on them all the time saying, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? Right?
Yep.
You give them a time frame. They know how to manage their workload to meet that time. We call them suspenses, but the drop dead date, whatever you want to call that, this is when I need this completed. And they know how to manage their workload within the time constraints to produce efficiently.
Well, and then when they do that, we show appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I talk to clients about, can you afford a bonus? Can you give them an extra commission? Can you, what are some of the ways that you can show your appreciation for good work to encourage them? Because it's a lot less expensive to keep employees than employee turnover. Yeah.
You can give them a $7 plaque, or you can give them 4 hours off of work paid. There are,
so many different ways to show your appreciation.
You can have a luncheon. Just bring in stuff for lunch that they didn't have to put together and they didn't have to pay for, but they get to all come together and work as a team, to eat up all that food.
Yeah, there's so many ways to do that, So that's why I take such a comprehensive approach to it, because if we only focus on one part, then we're out of balance, and then when you're out of balance, we're not the best version of ourselves. That's just that's my belief system.
I agree. But it's so hard to keep, it's almost like a juggling act sometimes. Okay, well, this week I've got to focus on work. I've got a deadline. I've got, 3 of these and 4 of those that must be completed by 4:00 on Thursday afternoon, right? And so that becomes where we focus. But maybe that means I have to put in an extra hour in order to meet that one deadline. But maybe next week I can take away an hour from work to spend more time with family. But the balancing act between all those areas, the 6 areas that you bring up, can be challenging. But if you don't focus on it, you'll never get there, which is why scheduling comes into play and putting it on paper. Somebody said, oh, yeah, I'm doing that every day. Well, do you have it on your calendar? Well, no, but I know put it on your calendar, make it real, right?
Yes. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, and that's why, right now I'm offering planning sessions. I'm offering anybody who's an entrepreneur a 20-minute planning session for free. So to help them realize the power of planning, because you're absolutely right. You have to sit back and plan. When are you going to work on what? When are you going to do, the stuff for yourself? When are you going to do something for your team or for your family, or et cetera, et cetera? So it doesn't become an afterthought. Eventually, yes, it's part of it with this planning is creating habits. At some point, it becomes a habit that this is what you do every day, or this is what you do once a week on a certain time every week. That's the idea. But until it gets to be a habit, you have to work at it.
Yep. So for those who are interested, I'll have the link down below where you can book your strategy session with Christoph. So when you were first starting your business, what's one of the obstacles, maybe even time obstacles, that you fell subject to, that you had to work through to streamline your business to get it the way you want it to be?
Well, it was that the stuff that we talked about before, like, oh, I'm my own boss now. Oh, what am I going to do? When am I working what? All of that was like, oh, geez, was nice, good idea, but now what? Now how does that work? You know, and then also realize, okay, what is it that I'm not really good at? That was not my skill set, but it has to get done. No, I can't do it better. I know I can't do it faster because it's not my skill set. It's a waste of my time. But I can't afford to have somebody else do that. Oh, can you afford not to have somebody else do that? So all this stuff went through my head. So yes, I should not take care of my website because I don't have a clue. Optimize blog posts. Huh? Optimize what? What? No clue. Okay. So who can do that? Social media. Oh, what's social media? Yeah, okay, I'm here. We should be posting, and but when, how often, what? No clue. Okay, who can do that for me? Bookkeeping, taxes. What is that? What is that? What entity should I be? Solopreneur? Oh, tax reasons, not the best entity to be at. Oh, again, who can help me with that? So that's a huge component. You got to surround yourself with experts who can do things that you're not an expert at. You mentioned it yourself. You have a team to, put the podcast together because your expertise is what you're doing right now, in addition to your, job as a mindset coach. And so that's a big part of it, figure out finding the right people to help you do the things that you're not good at so that you can focus on the things that you're really good at, the things that you know best, and the things that you really want to focus on because you're so good at it. So that's a big part of it. And then so making connections, talking with people. And that's how this book and this system that I created from No Time to Free Time system, that's how that came about. Because I was talking to people. Somebody told me, when are you going to write your book? I don't know. I don't know how to write. And then she said, well, you just did a presentation to my team. Didn't you record that? I said, yeah. She said, okay, well, there's your book. And I'm like, huh? So that's how this stuff goes. And then still I needed somebody to take my gap because, as you can tell, I have no problem talking, and turn that gap, that recording, into an actual book. So I found somebody to do that for me. Again, you have to partner with experts in the field. That's how the book came about. And then the person who I did the presentation with, she became my book writing coach and the publisher, and published my book and got it onto Amazon and Amazon bestseller status and so forth. So that's how this stuff works. I can only do this much and I'm good at this much. And all the other stuff that needs to happen to make the business a success, I have to delegate or outsource. In the prioritization process that Brian Tracy teaches, A, B, C, D, E. The D stands for delegate. The E stands for eliminate. Okay, so start with those two on your famous to-do list. And then you jump to A. We already talked a little bit about A task.
Yeah, one of the biggest traps that I see entrepreneurs falling into is just that. They think they have to do everything when they know nothing about marketing. They know nothing about sales. They know nothing about writing or publishing a book, right? For me, I knew nothing about podcasts. I eventually just fell into it and it became easy. But when the thought first came in, I knew nothing about podcasts. People talk about one sheets and all to get on to podcasts and who do you pay and who do you not. I'm like, I don't want any part of that. It just seems so overwhelming. And then one day it just didn't. There was a team and they take care of everything and I get to talk to great people like you. Right?
Well, yes. So you got to do what you're really good at. and you gave other jobs that were needed to make it, a success. You found the people to do that for you. That's key, And that whole idea of let go, yes, you still have to kind of be in touch with folks and make sure that it happens, but you got to let go and believe that you surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about employee relationships. You got to trust them that they do the work. And you trust them by building and nurturing those relationships, and tell them how much you appreciate them and how good a job they do. And if they, and having reviews, performance reviews. I'm working with a client on that constantly. I don't have time for that. Well, you need to make time for that.
Yeah. Time, the amount of time you're spending on something, if you pay attention, that tells you what your priority is. Whether you think that that's your priority or not, if that's where you're spending your time, that's where you feel tension somewhere in your body that says, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. Whether that's true or not is something that you might need to evaluate, but there's some belief in there somewhere that's making you think, I must do this. Nobody else can touch it. I must do this. And that may be true, or it may not. But if you don't evaluate it, you can just go along this wrong path forever without saying, oh, this road isn't even taking me to New York. It's taking me to Florida. I need to recorrect a little bit because I'm going the wrong direction.
Well, you brought up another excellent point. When, as you were just talking, occurred to me, well, everybody's familiar with a budget, right? Now, most people don't know what a time budget is. But that's the work I do with my clients. Exactly, because what you were saying, if you know where your time goes, and then that's what you do need to know, that means that's either that is a good use of your time or it's not. But if you don't know where your time is going, how can you adjust the course? Then, as you said, you might be going to Florida instead of New York.
Yeah.
So we have to create a time budget. Where is our time going? What do we spend most of our time on every day? And is that the best use of it?
For me, it's very funny. Earlier in this conversation, it came into my head. One of the things that is a must for me is reading. I read all the time. I've done that since I was a very small child. Reading is just very important for me. And unfortunately, I read so much, I read very fast. So from the time I was a teenager, I had a library in my house because when I was very young, I'd get my books at the library, and I'd take out gobs of books. At 6th grade, I was reading Boston Strangler. I mean, I was reading a lot. But I would read so fast that it gets very expensive to keep buying books, right? But on Amazon, they'll give you, if you read a lot, and I do, they'll give you like stats on how many weeks in a row you've read. Well, I've read years in a row. It's not just how many days or how many weeks, it's how many years in a row that I haven't missed a week of reading, right? Now, within those, I think it was like 4 or 5 years, I missed a few days, but those were days that I was probably at sea with, no internet access, so they couldn't track that I was reading, Very interesting. Yep. But if you do pay attention to your time, you figure out what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. And that's an important component for business owners to do. You have to know where your time goes. And then once you do know that, is that the right use of your time? That's something that, I discuss with my client. Is that the best use of your time? What is it that you do for yourself? Are you spending not too much time on this or that? Who could help you with this?
We're getting close to the end of our time here. So I wanted to give you a chance to come up with any final thoughts you might want to leave for our listeners. I will have your information down below, so if anybody wants to get in touch with Christoph, just click on the links below. But other than that, any final thoughts? Have we covered everything, or is there something else you'd like to leave with our listener?
I think we covered most of it. I mean, if you only walk away with one thing, walk away with a plan where you plan your week and days and weeks carefully. And in that plan, it includes something for yourself. It includes stuff for your loved ones. And create office hours if you don't have that. If you have a home office, you can even post those office hours on the home office door. If you want to take it a step further, you can give the key to your home office to your spouse. And so in case you want to go to your home office outside of office hours, you have to ask for the key. But
that's hilarious. I love that.
It's have a plan, and make sure that you make yourself a priority. Because if you don't, nobody else will. And it's beneficial to not only you, it's beneficial to everybody that you get in contact with, to your loved ones, to your clients, to your team members, to your employees.
Cool.
And if you'd like to talk to me, there's no charge. You just set up a time and we chat and I find out what's going on in your business, and we talk a little bit about what are your challenges that you're facing, and talk about ways to overcome those challenges. And if you want to dig further into this from no time to free time system, we can do that together if you like. But there's no charge. Hop on a call. Let's talk.
Cool. So I want to thank Christoph Nauer for being my guest. And I want to thank my listeners for tuning in once again. I have really, I think, cool conversations with cool people. And I really appreciate my listeners who make all this possible by tuning in. And sometimes they enjoy what I bring to the table. And I'm sure that almost all of the time they enjoy my guests. So thank you, Christoph, for being here. Thanks to the listeners. And this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Until next time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jean.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey, where we take out your emotional baggage and heal your emotional body so you get to enjoy the success you desire and deserve. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey.